Russian reinforcements are surging into Donetsk Oblast, staging for what many observers anticipate will be a major mechanized assault on the fortress city of Pokrovsk. But Ukrainian forces aren't just sitting around waiting for the attack. They're positioning their own reinforcements around Pokrovsk, and they're hitting the newly arriving Russian regiments at their assembly points in Donetsk City, potentially with a previously unknown cruise missile type, says Euromaidan Press media outlet. That Ukraine can still surprise observers with a new missile type isn't actually all that surprising. 43 months into Russia's wider war, Ukraine has become a world leader in deep strike technology by necessity. On Monday, the Ukrainians targeted the defunct Topaz metallurgy plant on the eastern edge of Donetsk City, 50 kilometers southeast of Pokrovsk. The plant is well known as a staging base for Russian forces moving toward the Donetsk front line. A barrage of aerial munitions pummeled Topaz. Photos and videos from the plant confirmed no fewer than 3 different types of munitions. Among other weapons, it seems the Ukrainian Unmanned Systems Forces or Special Services struck Topaz with propeller-driven AN-196 and potentially Morok attack drones. Meanwhile, the Air Force launched locally made BARS or Peklo cruise missiles as well as British-made Storm Shadow cruise missiles. Euromaidan Press says, it is noted that the missiles and drones zoomed in one after another in quick succession. Imagery from the aftermath of the attack pointed to heavy damage. Other imagery may have revealed fragments of a new Ukrainian missile. The potentially 3M missile seems to have a simple fiberglass fuselage and wing and a dorsal pylon for what appears to be a K450 miniature jet engine made by Taiwanese company KingTech. The wreckage doesn't match the Peklo's sleeker profile, nor does it match the admittedly few things we might know about the BARS. That first imagery of what may be a crashed BARS seems to point to a different engine type, a SW400 from Chinese firm Swiwin. Is there a third Ukrainian cruise missile type in the class of the Peklo and BARS, or did the designers of the BARS switch to a Taiwanese engine? We don't know. Ukrainian firms build long-range attack drones at a rate of 1,000 per month, and the Ukrainian military and special services launch them at Russian air bases, factories and oil refineries as far as 1,000 kilometers from the front line on a roughly weekly basis. Back in December, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky announced Ukraine would acquire 30,000 one-way attack drones in 2025. It's evident actual deliveries will exceed that goal. Firepoint, the firm that builds the Flamingo, claimed it's already churning out 100 FP-1 attack drones every day. To add range and firepower to its escalating deep strike campaign, Ukraine is also developing cruise missiles, including the Peklo, the BARS, and the Flamingo. Hundreds of millions of dollars in financing from the United Kingdom and Germany are helping Ukraine ramp up production of these new missiles. It's unclear whether that fourth Ukrainian cruise missile type, if indeed that's what we witness in the Topaz raid, launches from the ground or from the air. A fuel crisis is rapidly flaring up in Russia. After massive Ukrainian drone attacks on oil refineries, interruptions in gasoline supplies have already been recorded in more than 20 regions of the country. For a country completely dependent on automobile transport, this is a critical blow to the military and civilian economy. Izvestia writes about this. Russian authorities do not comment on what is happening. I try not to mention the uncomfortable topic. Back in August, interruptions were observed only in the Far East, Transbaikalia, and occupied Crimea. But in September, the deficit affected the Ryazan, Nizhny Novgorod, Saratov, Samara, Ulyanovsk, Penza, Rostov, and Astrakhan regions, as well as Kalmykia and Tatarstan. Problems are also being recorded in the Amur, Magadan, Sakhalin regions, Khabarovsk Krai, Yakutia, the Jewish Autonomous Region, and Chukotka. According to the Independent Fuel Union, independent petrol stations are closing. Many are working from tanker to tanker. Initially, the problem was local. Now it covers the European part of the country. The experts admit. Reuters calculated that in August, Russia lost 17% of its oil refining capacity, or 1.1 million barrels per day. Drone strikes completely shut down the Novokubishevsk, Saratov, Volgograd and Syzran refineries. In September, the Ryazan refinery, which accounts for 5% of the refining, partially shut down. This caused a sharp rise in prices. Since the beginning of the year, the cost of AI-92 and AI-95 has grown by 40 to 50%, breaking historical records. All batches of fuel are sold out instantly on the exchange. There are more than 1,000 people willing to buy, but there are also no volumes. Gasoline shortages have become a new problem for the Kremlin. Automobile transport is the basis for supplying the army and logistics in a huge country. Fuel shortages threaten not only the economy but also military supplies. The authorities are trying to put out the fire manually. They are starting reserve capacities, postponing repairs at refineries and limiting fuel exports. But for a country that once boasted its status as an energy superpower, the gasoline shortage looks like an indicator of systemic collapse. A car with Ukrainian license plates was filmed in Moscow. The footage immediately spread across social networks, but at the same time it became the reason for a wave of jokes. Attention was drawn to a car with Ukrainian, namely Poltava, license plates, which was driving around the Russian capital. The corresponding video can be seen on the Telegram channel Trua Kremenchuk. The authors of the publication recalled Spiderweb 2.0, which was prepared for a year and a half, and during which a significant part of the Russian strategic air fleet was destroyed. Then the operation was delayed because at the decisive moment the Russian drivers all went on a drinking binge, and another threat of failure appeared when one of the participants exposed drones under the roofs of houses, but this problem was also quickly extinguished. The comments were divided. Some wrote that this car has been driving around Moscow since 2021. Others suggested that the car could have been stolen, and some believe that there are plenty of such cars in the city because there are normal people and laws, unlike in Ukraine. Recall a series of blasts at air bases deep inside Russia on June 1st, 2025, came as a rude awakening to Moscow's military strategists. The Ukrainian strike, at the heart, Russia's strategic bombing capability, could also upend the traditional rules of war. It provides smaller military, a blueprint for countering a larger nation's ability to launch airstrikes from deep behind the front lines. Ukraine's Operation Spiderweb involved 117 remote-controlled drones that were smuggled into Russia over an 18-month period and launched toward parked aircraft by operators miles away. The raid destroyed or degraded more than 40 Tu-95, Tu-160, and Tu-M3 strategic bombers, as well as an A-50 airborne early warning jet, according to officials in Kiev. That would represent roughly one-third of Russia's long-range strike fleet and about $7 billion in hardware. Even if satellite imagery ultimately pares back those numbers, the scale of the damage is hard to miss. In Operation Spiderweb, Ukraine has sought to repeat that strategy while also leveraging surprise to achieve psychological shock and dislocation. But the Ukraine operation taps into a uniquely 21st century aspect of warfare.